Okay, this is for Andrew and his questions for his school, and this is Corinne Reimer, grandma, to Andrew from the mother's side, and for the father's side, actually. So, first of all, where did our family originally come from? Grandma?
Which name?
Where did our family come from? The Hamels.
Oh, okay. The Hamels that I knew originated in Canada, French-speaking Canada. My grandfather from Montreal, my grandmother from Three Rivers in the Quebec area.
Now the Hamels, what about the generation before them? Do you know what?
I know that my grandmother's maiden name was LeBlanc, LeBlanc or LeBlanc. And what was the other?
Yeah, so your parents, the parents of your parents, like, did they come from Europe or, you know?
No, they didn't. My grandfather immigrated to Canada, and I don't know much about when my grandmother's family immigrated, but she did. They didn't know each other, and as I told you where they lived, I don't know how they met, except that they settled down in Laconia, New Hampshire, but they got married in Maine.
Mm-hmm. Do you know where your parents met? Or?
My parents?
Yeah.
Okay. My grandparents on that side evidently moved to Manchester, New Hampshire.
I'm going to close the door here a little bit just for quiet.
And they married in Maine, moved to Manchester, New Hampshire. My father took up in business he was a little boy, 8 years old, and he helped my grandfather in his butcher business, grocery store, and so did my grandmother help. And then there was another boy, Reimer, also known as Paul, and my father's name was Jerry, or Gerard.
Now, who was Raymond? Was Raymond your father's brother?
Yes.
Okay, he was your uncle, huh? Let me get some light in here, Mom, so we can. Okay, so Raymond, this is something I don't even know some of these old stories. This is good. So, did you know your grandfather and grandmother?
Yes.
But you had your mother's grandparents,
yes.
Or parents, and your father's parents. Did you know all four of them?
I knew my grandmother on my French-speaking side longer than her husband, my grandfather, Omer Hamel. He died rather young, in his late 50s. He was on vacation in Florida with his wife.
And he died in Florida?
You see how much they loved each other if you saw any pictures of them.
That was whose side of the family? Was that your...
That's still on my side.
Hamels, the Hamels?
The Hamels. I'll get to my
So
mother's.
that was your father's parents you're referring
yes.
to. And so your grandfather died young,
yeah.
and they were...
I put in there that my mother and father met in a unique way. He was standing outside of the little Hamels market, and she used to walk by every day for lunch with her girlfriend. who was only 2 years, 2 years older than him.
His uncle?
Yeah,
Was only-
an Uncle Shorty. He pointed my mother out once to my dad. He said, "Look at that pretty blonde there. Why don't you ask her out?" And my dad looked and he said, "Maybe."
And that,
I'll cut the story short. He did marry her.
oh,
And they had 5 children.
oh,
I was the oldest
yeah,
child.
yeah. So yeah, you were the oldest of 5 children, and what was it like growing up for you? And
Was okay.
you grew up in Manchester, right? Or
My grandfather was very prosperous. He sent his boys to good schools. My uncle became a doctor, and my father became a lawyer, but he didn't take his
bar exam?
bars because his father died suddenly, and he decided to go in the business and help my grandmother, who was alone with they had 3 stores.
Oh, okay. So they had. Oh, I didn't know that. So
What?
your dad was. Your grandfather died suddenly, and your dad dropped going to getting his bar and being a lawyer. So in order to help his mom run the business, the 3
Yes.
stores, were they market stores or grocery
Yes,
stores?
Hamels Market.
In Manchester.
And it was during the war, pretty soon.
It was right
In
before the
about
war?
4 years, President Roosevelt declared war, and then my dad was really needed there. However, my uncle was drafted as a doctor. He went to the Panama Canal, where they sent all the soldiers who needed to be stitched up. So that's that story.
Yeah. No. Did your dad was he never went into the military, or what happened with that? Was he too old, or was he?
But I'll tell you what he was. He was a politician, and he ran for mayor of Manchester, New Hampshire, and but he didn't make it.
Do you remember what year that would have been?
I don't remember, but the man he ran against was in there 20 years. That's pretty hard to defeat.
Yeah. Was that in the 40s? Would you say?
40s.
Yeah. He's probably.
I was a little girl. It was probably in the late 30s.
Oh. Yeah.
Or the very early 40s. He didn't win. Now,
Do you remember?
Want to move over to my mother's?
Well, I just want to ask one more thing. Then, did he run like with the party, a certain party?
Yes, he was a Republican.
Oh, so he was a Republican, and probably the mayor was a Democrat then.
The man was a Democrat.
I have to get to.
Manchester was very much a mill city. They
Yeah.
produced fabrics and can't think of it. You know me.
Something else that they produced, you're saying?
Shoes.
Shoes and clothing?
Shoe city.
Let me get this. I want to make sure I keep going with the battery juice, so I'm plugging this in. If you can hold off the interruption here.
Okay.
Okay, well, okay. All right, that's a pretty good, I learned that a few things myself here. Okay.
My mother and father were first generation Americans.
first generation Americans.
Okay, that's important in the story.
Yeah.
Now let's go to what
Your mom's side.
Okay, my mother was an attractive woman, smart too. She